All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Right now, as we speak, trace amounts of really stubborn, highly stable pharmaceutical drugs are just slipping right through our municipal water filters. It's a huge problem. But today, we're exploring an absolutely fascinating, almost sci-fi level goal, using the power of everyday sunlight to literally destroy these pollutants. We're looking at this incredible intersection of environmental science and nanoscale engineering, and we're going to see exactly how it's done. To make sense of all this, we're going to break this complex system down into 6 quick steps. Number 1, the photocatalyst bottleneck. 2, enter the polymer hero. 3, high-speed electron highways. 4, trapping pollutants with precision. 5, chemical scissors destroy drugs. And finally, 6, the ultimate catalyst upgrade. So, part 1, the photocatalyst bottleneck. Let's look at why traditional metal oxides fail. The real villain of our story comes down to this shockingly low number, 3 to 5%. That's it. Traditional inorganic photocatalysts, the baseline materials we usually use for these light-based reactions, are just incredibly inefficient. And why? Well, because their physical structure only allows them to absorb ultraviolet rays. They completely ignore the vast majority of the sun's energy. It's kind of like trying to power a whole city using a single AA battery. It just doesn't work. These traditional metal oxides face 3 massive physical roadblocks. First up is severe spectrum waste. Like we just said, over half the visible light passes right through and is completely ignored. Second is what we call exciton recombination. Now that's just a fancy scientific way of saying that even when the material does absorb light and gets excited, that energy instantly neutralizes itself before it can actually do any useful work. And third, extreme agglomeration. Basically, these nanoparticles uselessly clump together into big blocks. That drastically drops their surface area and makes them incredibly difficult to recover later. Which brings us to part 2. Enter the polymer hero. Engineering a nanoscale solution. So the billion-dollar question researchers were looking at was this. How do we rescue these abundant traditional metal oxides without having to invent entirely new, impossibly expensive base materials from scratch? Well, the answer is polymer interface engineering. Imagine dark conductive polymer chains actively wrapping around those base metal nanoparticles. They create this highly efficient nanoscale supersponge. They aren't replacing the metal, right? They're upgrading it. It creates what's called a heterojunction, a hybrid structure that completely changes how the material interacts with both light and water. Let's move to part 3, high-speed electron highways, the Z-scheme heterojunction. By adding these conductive polymers, we actually create a specialized energy pathway. In step 1, incoming photons excite the polymer's electrons from their resting state, which is known as HOMO, all the way up to a higher excited energy state called LUMO. Then, in step 3, high-speed charge injection shoots straight down into the inorganic interface. The crucial takeaway here? This acts like a literal high-speed charge channel, rapidly moving excited electrons away before they can neutralize and waste their energy. We call this specific pathway a Z-scheme heterojunction, simply because of that distinct Z shape the energy transfer makes. By using these highly conductive polymers, the material suddenly shifts its absorption right into the visible light spectrum. This Z-scheme radically drops electrical resistance, and it preserves the strongest reducing electrons right alongside the most powerful oxidizing holes. We have effectively demolished that insulating barrier. All right, part 4, trapping pollutants with precision, the microenvironment enrichment effect. But here's the catch, you guys. Even with perfect energy flow, a machine is totally useless if it can't catch its target. There is a stark contrast between the old way and the new way here. Pure inorganic surfaces are highly hydrophilic, meaning they love water. But pharmaceutical pollutants, they are mostly hydrophobic. They repel water. So the old metals literally push away the exact drugs they are supposed to destroy. The new approach, though, uses natural electrostatic attraction to act as a targeted, sticky net. Scientists call this the microenvironment enrichment effect. Within that natural polymer network, the hydrophobic drug molecules are pre-adsorbed right into the web. The polymer actively drags the pollutants out of the bulk water and concentrates them right into the destruction zone, where our upgraded catalyst is waiting for them. Part 5. Chemical scissors destroy drugs. Indiscriminate destructive power. Once those drug pollutants are trapped on our high-speed charge highway, it's time for the ultimate impact. We define the agents of this destruction as reactive oxygen species, or ROS for short. Think of them as chemical scissors. Now, pharmaceutical molecules are inherently designed to be extremely stable. That's exactly how they survive the harsh environment inside the human body. But these ROS chemical scissors possess such a high oxidation potential that they indiscriminately tear those tough, stable aromatic drug rings right apart. And here is exactly how those chemical scissors are forged. As photons hit our hybrid material, positive holes pull electrons from the surrounding water to create hydroxyl radicals. Simultaneously, free electrons reduce dissolved oxygen to create superoxide radicals. It's a violent, super effective reaction. And if you look at the data from ESR, or electron spin resonance experiments, those jagged peaks are real-time experimental verification of these free radicals being created. The chemistry absolutely 100% works. Finally, Part 6, the ultimate catalyst upgrade. More than just a carrier. To summarize what we've learned today, this upgraded technology rests firmly on three main pillars. First, it expands solar absorption out of just UV and into the broad visible light spectrum. Second, it stops energy waste by separating charges along those high-speed Z-scheme pathways. And third, it actively hunts down pollutants using precise molecular interactions. When we put it all together, we can really see the complete anatomy of our newly engineered machine. You have the capture of the whole rainbow of visible light. You have the Z-scheme keeping electrons and holes apart so they can actually do the work. And you have the polymer web actively trapping the drug molecules. It proves without a doubt that adding conductive polymers fundamentally changes the entire nature of the reaction. This really leaves us with a profound realization. Historically, we've thought of polymers, plastics, as just passive containers or simple carriers. But by engineering their interfaces at the nanoscale, they suddenly become the active engines of environmental restoration. It begs a really provocative question. If we can turn passive materials into active chemical engines that destroy drugs using nothing but sunlight, what other massive environmental bottlenecks can nanoscale engineering solve next? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your curiosity focused on the future.